Before we head on with the video, do not forget to like and subscribe to the charity channel of Pies, Gurung Vlogger Nagkwait, and also don't forget to click the notification bell for further updates. And with that being said, let's head on with the video.
Hi, I'm Natasha.
I'm Shane.
I'm Dylan.
I am Giancarlo.
And I am Miguel.
And we are
Group
5.
Hello once again, and now I'm going to talk about the definition of codes and conventions, as well as how it is applied in media. So first off is codes. What are codes? Codes are systems of signs that when put together, they create meaning. And as for conventions, these are generally established and accepted ways of doing something. And how it is applied in media is that media codes is used to generate or suggest meaning in media forms and products. And that could be done through the use of 3 types of tools, which are symbolic, technical, and written. And on each type of tool has their own elements. And those elements include the use of camera work, acting, setting, mise-en-scene, editing, lighting, sound, special effects, typography, color, visual composition, text, and graphics. And as for the media conventions, these are the generally accepted rules of constructing form and informing meaning in media products. And through that also has its own types of conventions, which are form, story, and genre. And of course, on each type has their own elements as well, which includes story principles, form and structure, generic structures, character and story arcs, cause and effect, point of view, the structuring of time, elements of page layout, paper stock for print, tiles and credit sequences, hyperlinking and mounting and framing of images. And as for the examples of codes and conventions being used can be seen through, video games, especially when we go through a tutorial, as well as watching the TV or a film, even in Netflix, as well as on YouTube as well, most commonly on YouTube, even Facebook, as well as story animations and etc. And that is all.
Now that we know that codes are a system of signs, let us talk about semiotics, also called as semiology. So semiotics comes from the Greek word semion, meaning signs. Therefore, semiotics is the study of signs and text. It is to say that it is also the study of communication, meanings, significance, and interpretation. Therefore, semiotics is less interested in what something means and more interested in how something means at all to anybody. Now let us talk about a concept under semiotics, and that is the signified signifier concept. This concept consists of 3 parts: signs, signifier, and signified. So, signs means anything that shows meaning, wherein signifier is anything that gives meaning, and signified is what is invoked in the head when we see that image or word. An example. So here we have the word fruit. This will be our signifier. Our signified is what invokes in our mind. So when I see the word fruit, I think apples or bananas. So that is how the signifier signified concept works. Did you know that we take symbolic actions every now and then? Our interactions with others are us using symbols to express ourselves. Let's say we see a friend after so long of not seeing them. We tend to hug them to show that we miss them. Even gestures such as waving your hands can mean hello or goodbye. Or when we clap our hands when we are amazed at something. Or when we shake our head to show that we disapprove of something. So these are signs and symbols that we actually use every now and then. Media is one of the main or most accessible way people transmit symbols. Let's say in TV commercials, movies, or random videos you see online. There are actually a lot of symbols that we may or may not see. Let us revisit some of our TV commercials. If we take a deeper look into it, we may see that it's actually showing us a bigger picture. I have seen a lot of music videos where they show different meanings in the backgrounds that actually connect to a different part of a story. So those are cool things that we can spot while watching videos online. Here's an example of a commercial that shows a lot of symbolism.
Also showing symbolism through social interactions and messages and text, it is a man's capability and capacity to pursue the meaning and context of the signs and symbols they've encountered. The messages and symbolism are constructed by codes and conventions, and its meaning can be found in different mediums. We can find the meaning of symbols in culture. Symbolic actions like hand waving or clapping your hands to express joy are an example of a culture that has shaped and transmitted through social life or the media. However, meanings can also be found and constructed by historical circumstances. But first, what are historical circumstances? Historical circumstances are the social, political, cultural, economic, and environmental situations that influences the events or trends we see happen during that time. Therefore, if we are familiar with the traditions, culture, thinking, or events happening at any time in history, we could easily interpret or have the meaning and context of the symbolism or message. Books, TV shows, paintings, media messages, and also social interactions are an example of mediums that use messages and symbols based on historical events of the past. For example, a classic book, Animal Farm, written by George Orwell, where it's a story about how a group of farm animals rebel against their farmer and decide to run the farm on their own. And the story ends with the pig named Napoleon ruling as a dictator and the farm deteriorating back to the old squalid conditions from before they rebelled against the farmer. If you analyze a little, the author used the symbolism of the historical event, the Russian Revolution, in his book, meaning the events that happen in the book is the same as the historical event. That is how historical circumstances are a source of the context that help understand the symbolism. Since we're talking about history, messages and symbols have been made ages ago for the purpose of communicating with other people, but also conveying a message, but has been done in different ways. Hieroglyphics is one of the examples of historical science and symbolism in our history. The Egyptians used hieroglyphics as a form of writing and used symbols like owls, birds, and people to express more the meaning of their writing. Another is heraldry, that was created in the Middle Ages and was shown as a symbolic language used for identification on clothing, shields, and flags. The designs and colors show signs and symbolisms of where and who they are during that time. Signs and symbols are different comparing then and now, but we won't forget theirs because now creators are influenced in using their signs and symbols to their mediums to express more of their content. Shows based on history or have historic themes like knights and royalty or wars in the past are an example of mediums that use symbolism on historical circumstances. Yes, symbolism can be shown through the works of culture and history, but it can also be shown through the structure and institution of the television media. It can be shown through words, sounds, images, and also the angle and position of the camera. Examples are the point of view, camera angles, camera movement, and camera positions. The reason there are so many angles and positions and so on is because These are examples of conventions where its purpose is to emphasize the scene very powerfully for the viewers to understand and find the meaning of their message and symbolism. For example, if the scene focuses on a point of view, the creator/director wants you to understand the content by making you the eyes of the character and feel the emotion and situation of the scene. Or if the scene is recorded in a handheld camera, so the screen is shaky but shows the realism of the scene. So in conclusion, the camera can also be a medium to show messages and symbolism for people to find its context, and there are multiple positions and angles that can help express the symbolism.
I'm going to be giving you a brief summary of what texts are in general, along with how they are connected with codes and conventions and how they are used in media and information. So let us first start by defining what text is. A text is anything that can be read. It's a form of thought that can be expressed using a set of words. It contains information, meanings, or ideas that can be interpreted and examined by the person who is going to read it. However, texts are not as simple as you may think it is, based on the definition that is, as there are different types of texts in which research have shown that it can be categorized into two, namely factual and literary. Now, factual aims to inform, instruct, and persuade using facts and information, while literary aims to enlighten, entertain, and elicit information using language and structure. Now, types of texts that belong to the category factual are discussion or argument texts, explanatory texts, instructional or procedural texts, persuasive texts, non-chronological reports, and recounts. As for the texts that belongs to the category literary, we have poetry, narrative, and drama. Putting the types of texts aside, the appearance of texts can change by the use of typeface and fonts. Typeface is a type of design that is applied to letters, and fonts is a particular size, weight, and shape of a typeface. Now, having a brief idea or a brief summary about texts, how are texts connected to codes and conventions? Well, texts are connected to codes and conventions because texts are a system of words, symbols, or characters in which they create a meaning once they are put together. Furthermore, texts are generally established by many as a form of communication in which it is naturally accepted by everyone, as everyone uses texts nowadays. Now, with that in mind, we can say that texts are highly connected to codes and conventions, if not the same thing. Now, texts are used everywhere, especially in the media. So it begs the question, how are texts used in media and information? Texts are used in media to inform and introduce various concepts to people in which it could produce different emotions, such as happiness, disgust, hate, and so on and so forth. Texts, in addition, are used in media to help keep up with the trend and the contemporary things going around the world. In other words, it is used to spread information to the public or to the people who has access to the media. And that's it for this section of the blog. Moving on to the next section.
For this section of the blog, we are going to answer how does codes and conventions govern the productions of media and information texts. Codes and conventions are used together in any study of genre. In media, when it comes to communication, it has their own codes and conventions. It is to help us understand the context itself. We have symbolic actions used to express ourselves, like when we wave our hands, it means we say goodbye to the person. Or other example is shake our heads horizontally to express disapproval. So in media, there are lots of messages constructed for the viewers to understand. As we all know, media codes includes the use of camera, acting, and other more. To make it more understandable, when someone took a picture of a person who looks shocked, what does it try to tell to the audience? It tells them that the person being shocked is the response to a certain event or action. So that is all for me. Thank you.